Working on Cursed Child has given me the opportunity to share a different aspect to my musicality. Most people have known me for my songs, my lyrics, my vocals. That is a huge part of my life. But this has given me a chance to explore and express the purely musical side of me. In the play, it's 100 cues. It's quite a lot. Ranging from like 5 seconds to 10 minutes. I'd say like 75% of it originates from existing music, but what that actually feels like is something more like maybe 40% or 30%, because you wouldn't notice. It's so hidden, like how they're integrated, and there's loads of new stuff on top. It does ask that of you, that you do sit and you give time to it. And I think, like anything in life, that's what's great about the theatre, is you're sat there, you can't move, you just got to give in to being in the moment. And I hope that because this album is a kind of continuous listen, that it does maybe encourage some people to just be in the moment and enjoy like they do with books.